What's up? I'm Micah Judds. I'm the bass man, and I'm tall and thin, very thin skin, so go easy on me. So I kind of started getting into music around middle school, band, and then when I picked up the guitar and piano, kind of just blossomed from there. Generally, I like classic rock, I like some R&B, and I also just like straight up pop. I kind of just really fell in love with the writing process and also uncovering a lot of music at the same time through friends. So in a lot of ways it was relationship oriented and also a means of self-expression. The coolest thing about music, the way I do it, is most of the time unintentionally. You can kind of release emotions and figure things out about yourself that you don't necessarily realize on a conscious level. I'm sure music will always be a part of me, and I mean, it's kind of hard to get out of it once you start. It's like a habit. It's just something you love to do. It wavers in its intensity and your devotion to it, so I'm sure other hobbies will pick up, and then eventually I'll get brought back to music at the end of the day. The stew life is a tricky question because being in the studio is fun, but my God, it can also bog you down and you look at your watch and you're like, oh crap, I have to get up in 3 hours. Recording music is really fun pretty much all the time because even if you don't have it all figured out, figuring it out while you're in the studio is fun. It just is a big time commitment. I'm definitely glad I went to school for audio engineering. It's something that I think takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and I don't necessarily think it was the greatest fit for me, but it's a good outlet to explore because I really do like making music.
My name's Ethan McCorkle-Deacon. I am the guitarist in Peace and Rest alongside Micah on bass and Hunter on drums. Well, I've always really enjoyed music. I think I've like always just loved listening to it for as long as I can remember. I picked up my first instrument in 4th grade, and it was the harmonica, and I just kind of absolutely fell in love with it. A couple years later, I picked up guitar and bass. I started playing like every single day and kind of took up a lot of my life. It's definitely what I like to do. Well, the style that like really got me into everything was definitely like alternative rock and hard rock, metal, like metalcore, hardcore. I like it all, but definitely my roots are with rock and metal. There's some punk in there too, you know, I like me some Blink-182. Honestly, I remember when I was really little listening to music, I just get goosebumps all the time from listening to music. Like just the emotional connection from listening to things is so amazing, and it's kind of like hard not to love it. Music has kind of been my expression. That's kind of where I spill everything. I mean, I do some journaling here and there, but it usually just all goes into my music. Taking it as a career, it's pretty fresh to me, and you never really know what could happen in the future, but as for right now, it's kind of all I do and all I've wanted to really do. The stew life, don't even, you got stew? You got stew?
I got
We all got stew, bro. If you don't catch me at the stew, you're catching me lacking. It's it's all about that stew life. I really enjoy just kind of full sailing it into the studio and seeing what you can do. But it's also frustrating. I've definitely found myself sitting in the control room, probably like on the edge of tears just because I'm so unhappy with what I make. But having that unfulfilled feeling just kind of makes me want to do it more. So we are both in the same major at the same school, and we have pretty much all the same classes, so we were kind of bound to start interacting at some point. But with COVID and everything, it kind of took us quite a while to actually start interacting with each other. A couple weeks later, you joined jazz band. I was in jazz band from the start, And he joined jazz band and he starts shredding these keys.
I remember Ethan had this song, which had become now our
Like
single, our main song.
There was this show that we were trying to put together, and I was like, what if we just do a few covers and this one song, and
Kind of just took off from there,
we
really.
made it happen. Well, Peace and Rest, it's
Groovy,
groovy, progressive.
sensual.
Yeah, progressive, in your face, but also mellow at the same time. Very thoughtful, I'd say. I think we put a lot of thought into what we like to do, but at the same time, it's also like, there's not too much care to it. It's not like overly thought out. It's just how we feel at the time. The biggest idea, though, you know, peace and rest. Not a lot of people are very peaceful and restful. Me, myself, you know, a lot of people can become existentialized, anxious, or whatever the list may be. And it's supposed to just sort of shed a light on that like, you know, you always got to make time for peace and rest. Take care of yourself, you know. I think that's kind of like, at least my thoughts behind it, you know. The peace and rest is to find your own peace and your own restfulness.
Remember that there's not always a guaranteed tomorrow, so you might as well try to enjoy yourself every second you can.
Yeah, be real with yourself and be real with the day.
That was really good, guys. Thank you for answering these questions.
You're welcome. When's the check?
My name is Tyler Miller. I am the lead guitarist for Dole Party. So before a show, my biggest obstacle that I endure is definitely nervousness. I get super anxious about shows, just worrying if I'm going to mess up or not, despite how many times I practice or not. So the best way that I've found to endure this is to drink. Not massively, not in an alcoholic way, but 1 or 2 drinks usually gets the job done, so the tenses aren't as high with me. To overcome my nervousness, when we first played our show last year, 2 years ago or so, I drank more than a couple beers or so, a little bit more than I should have, and became intoxicated and basically embarrassed myself in front of a bunch of people, in front of a bunch of my friends, and had no remorse afterwards. So ever since then, I have played 9, 10 plus shows, and that has been, drinking before a show has always been kind of my ritual before a show. While right before the show, the thoughts that are going through my head is trying to remember stuff with the band, just trying to remember parts that I can think about, like just think about the song in my head. But when I actually step on stage, you know, after I've had my couple of beers or so, I don't know, my inner self starts to kick in, and life is good, and I can just play along like I normally do, like I do in band practice. So before a show, I mean, besides my drinking, I try to talk to my band members talk to me, trying to help me ease my nervousness. And one of the big things, especially from Danny, the vocalist, he typically tells me just to relax, take a bunch of deep breaths. Life is good, because we've done this zillions and zillions of times before. So that usually kind of takes a little bit of the edge off of it, I would say. But as a band, I don't think we'll ever be able to practice the nervousness unless we always have a group of people around us to watch us practice. So I don't think we'll ever be naturally prepared for it, or I shouldn't say naturally, but we'll never be prepared for it. So I think it's just a matter of, within time and with enough shows that we play, it should be just a matter of that mindset just clicking in. For a show, like when I'm by myself at home, I will typically practice a riff over and over by myself. And I do try to meditate a little bit, just trying to ease myself, because it's always a good thing to keep in mind that these people that are watching us, they're just normal people. I mean, they more than likely do not know much about music, and no offense whatsoever. So I have that kind of advantage. So just trying to keep myself in the mindset like that, practicing, yeah.
You feel prepared personally?
I feel prepared personally. I'd say there's a couple parts I'm a little weary about, but I'm going to trust my skills. If I accidentally mess up, I'll be able to just come up with something on the fly, for the lack of a better term.
It's about him yelling, dude.
Danny will scream at me. He will scream at me, and then Dusty will give me dirty looks, and Monas will be Monas.
What do you think the turnout's going to be tonight?
For our set, I think it's going to be a whopping amount of like 5. 5 people. And then it's going to progress with more people. But I'm probably going to be absolutely wrong. I've never seen these bands live at all, because it's Pop Shove It, Rivalrous, and then I can't remember the last one. I don't know anything about them and what their turnouts are like. So I can only hope it'll be more than 5 people.
Jennifer Sage, owner of Sage USA, turned a simple hobby and her passion for creativity into a unique, full-fledged business endeavor.
My husband and I do plasma cutting and powder coating and fabrication of metal parts. And then I do sign painting, and we also do some metal sign art and metal wall art also. And then I do a graphic design, vinyl cutting, so decals, stickers. If someone can dream it, I'd be happy to help them make it. I love to create. It's so much fun to generate an idea into something tangible, and I love to bring the ideas of others to life for them as well. And I am incredibly satisfied when my finished product is perfect. I'm a perfectionist, and I'll go many extra miles to achieve perfection.
Aside from small custom items, Jenny has left her mark all across the town of Hartington, including murals and large painted logos in local businesses.
Well, people love stickers and buttons and personalized gifts, and all that's really fun, but the most profitable portion of the business is actually the products that I provide for other people to use in advertising their own business.
What started out as a small idea has not yet reached fruition. Jenny and her husband have big plans of expanding their business in the coming years.
Our next step is to invest in a building where we can house all of our manufacturing equipment, all of my office equipment, and have a space for customers to walk in, kind of have a shopping experience. And we'd love to find that building here in my hometown of Hartington. So actually I've been sign painting for about 20 years. I've always done custom art for people, But it's only been in the last 5 or 6 years that I've really had the freedom to start investing in our own business and really building the foundation for a sustainable business. It's been really great.
For more information, you can find her Etsy page at Sage USA and check out Sage Custom and Restoration on Facebook.
So I heard about 3D printing from two of my buddies who both own 3D printers. It started out with me and my friends playing D&D. We had miniature figures that would represent our characters and anything else we needed. And they were nicely printed and painted even. And I asked my buddy where he bought them from, and he said he made them himself. So I had him explain it to me, like how, and he said it was because of 3D printing. I knew 3D printing was a thing, I've just never seen it before in like real life. So that's kind of how I got started in really getting interested in it, because I found out all the different things you can make with them. I had him 3D print me a figure about this big of a suit of power armor from Fallout. So he kind of showed me how it is, and then another buddy of mine who has, I think, the exact same printer, he also does it, so that's how I really got started with it. You can do all sorts of things. You can make props, you can make nerdy crap, you can make stuff that can be used in everyday life, you can make parts. There's really nothing you can't do, especially if you can design the prints yourself and you don't have to go to some website and just use someone's print. So say you need a part but you can't find that print. If you knew how to design, then you could do whatever you want. It isn't really much what can you do, it's what can't you do. Because it's just like an endless of possibilities. If you got the right printer, the right filament, the right settings, the right file, you can make about anything you want. So far with my 3D printer, it's an Ender 3, so it's one of the beginner level 3D printers. It's only about like $200, so if someone's thinking about getting into it, this is a great printer. It does have its problems, but it's a very good beginner printer. I have made a few things. I have made mainly Star Wars blaster props. So I made like Han Solo's blaster, the Mandalorian's pistol blaster, Jyn Erso's blaster. I made a replica prop revolver that has the moving cylinder and even removable ammo. But the biggest thing I've made so far, or the longest thing, is I made a collapsible lightsaber, and I made 3 of them. I made one that was as like a test print so I could get down the settings. The second one I made for Sam because he really wanted one, and that was at 90% scale compared to the 100% one. And I thought to myself, I'm like, wow, I really like the 90% one. So I made a third one, and it only took like 5 hours per piece. But that's what I've made so far. So what I plan on making in the future is a lot of different things. I don't have one set thing right now. There's a whole list that I have in my files of what I want to print. It's just a matter of getting the filament and having the time. But I want to make a full set of Mandalorian armor, from helmet to the chest piece to the everything basically. There's 2 issues that I've ran into so far. The first one was my filament. I didn't touch the printer for a few weeks, and when I went to go print again, the filament was just not coming out, and it just wasn't working. I was confused, and I found out that inside the tube where the filament comes from the reel and eventually goes to the extruder, which heats up the plastic, it broke inside the tube, which is a very tiny, tiny tube. So I had to take that apart. What I did with that is I heated up the extruder to like 200 degrees. I took a Allen wrench that was small enough, and I just pushed it through the tube to get that plastic to help push through the extruder, getting rid of that plastic. And then I took the remaining filament from the reel and I pushed that back into the tube, and they were able to stay close enough together so when they eventually hit the extruder, they just melted together and was able to keep one consistent reel going. But the biggest issue that I have so far with this printer, the Ender 3, is bed leveling. So if you don't want to mess up a print, you want to make sure the bed is leveled so everything's nice and neat. I don't know why with this printer. I don't know if it's the temperature in my room keeps changing and that's causing the bed to go in and out. I'm not sure. Say I'm printing something, I have to start that print about 3 times. It will do a little line on the side and then get the parameters set. I have to usually stop and start that process 3 times just to get the bed level set. And this is for every single print. So I'll start the print, get the parameters set, notice the bed isn't leveled, stop the print, level the bed, rinse and repeat until it's all good and steady. So that's the main issue, and it's not something that I'm really doing so far that I know. It's mainly just, since this is a $200 printer, it doesn't have the bed leveling capabilities as more high-tech printers. So if you're thinking about starting 3D printing, that's good. I encourage it. It's not too hard. It does require some troubleshooting, but what doesn't, I guess, at this point? But basically what you need is very minimum. You just need a printer and the right type of filament. So like my Ender 3, like I've said, beginner printer. If you go any lower, I wouldn't, just because it might be so much more crap and not worth it. It's $200 on Amazon. A reel of filament will cost you about $20. And that's kind of all you need. You just have to assemble it yourself. I'd watch videos on about 3D printing. It's like how to set it up, what are the correct settings. That's what you need on like the hardware end. The software end, you kind of just need one little program. I use a program called Cura. That basically takes any file you download from the internet, say it's someone's print files, you put it in Cura, and I will put it into a usable format that will then get put onto your 3D printer. You can't just download a file and throw it straight on the printer. You need that software. So there's mainly only 3 things you need: printer, filament, software. That's about it. It's pretty easy, but it is time consuming.
My name's Michaela Robinson. I am from Fullerton, Nebraska, and I'm 15 years old. In November of 2020, I started having shoulder issues, and that resulted in many doctor visits and physical therapy sessions. And then I went in for one doctor's appointment, which was an MRI, and they had to give me like a dye shot in my shoulder, like right in there, you know, whatever. And it was very painful. It's a lot of pressure put on your shoulder. And one way I kept like calm about it was watching the screen, because it was like set up as an x-ray. And I like watched the dye go in, and like I could see the needle and everything. Like that stuff like entertains me. I don't know, like I like watching that kind of stuff. So that's like one thing that kept me calm. A few doctor visits later, it was surgery. My mom said that after I got some like anesthesia in me, I was like half out of it, and they put a numbing block like right here in my neck. My mom said the needle was like that long going into me, and she said she almost passed out. I woke up from surgery in my sling. I was freezing when I woke up, and my whole left side was numb, like my eye was droopy and my ear was numb and everything. I was in a sling for 4 weeks after surgery, and I had to sleep in this exact spot for a month, and lots of icing was done, and then Right about the 4-week mark, I started physical therapy, and you would never guess that like 1 pound was so heavy for you after surgery. I had to do a whole bunch of band exercises, and just that drug on for, I don't even remember how long, but physical therapy took a long time. One of the scariest things was taking off the gauze off of my shoulder like a week after surgery so we could change it. It was cool to look at though once that got taken off. My arm sometimes still like bothers me, like when I do certain things. I just don't think it's used to everything yet because I'm only a year and some months out of surgery. On July 14th of 2021, I was at softball practice and we were doing like grounders and stuff in the outfield, and my coach hit the softball and it hit a bump in the ground and it came up and knocked me right in the nose. Went to the emergency room in Albion and they did x-rays, and I got, well, they told me it was broken, obviously. It was shattered, actually. And then a week later, I got surgery on it because I can't wait more than a week, otherwise the bones start to set and heal where they were. So I had surgery on that. The healing process for my nose wasn't bad at all. It was probably the least painful of the 3 surgeries I've had. I was in a nose cast for 2 weeks, and it was just a white thing. It looked like a pore strip on your nose. For volleyball, I was supposed to wear a face shield, but I didn't do that. The physical effects of my broken nose were a crooked nose, obviously. It was a little wonky, and a black eye. I thought that was pretty cool. On January 27th of 2022, I had a basketball game in Norfolk, and I went home with my mom so we could go out and eat with my siblings. And we were leaving. We came up to a red stoplight, and 3 cars were involved. We were sandwiched between the 2. I got hauled away in an ambulance because I was complaining of my cheek hurting. They did x-rays on my face, and after they did that, the doctor came back in and was like, well, you got some fractures. And I was like, great, here we go. My cheekbone, my orbital floor under my eye, and my nose. Well, the only 2 that they were really worried about was my cheek and my eye. So we scheduled surgery for January 3rd. The crash has affected me in a lot of ways, honestly. I'm still iffy with riding in vehicles. Like when people come up behind us, like on the interstate, that really gets like me, like I get scared. And I don't like driving at night, that scares me. And I can't fall asleep in vehicles because I'm just scared something's gonna happen. The process to recovery on my face was eye drops in the eye, like twice a day. And then before I went to bed, I had to put an ointment in my eye so it would keep it wet because my eye didn't close all the way. And then I had to do a mouthwash so it would keep my stitches clean. And I couldn't brush my teeth for about a week after surgery. This has affected me mentally a lot. I don't like my smile anymore because my right eye still doesn't squint. We're getting that fixed, hopefully. A lot of people noticed it. Like, I wore glasses for a majority of the time after surgery, but then once track came around, I had to wear contacts, and a lot of people made fun of me for it because I can't squint. The new normal for me is eye massages at the moment. Getting used to not being able to squint right now, it's hard. It's getting better though. Some people that have helped me overcome all this has been my mom, my dad, and my sister, and my brothers, and just like a whole bunch of family and friends. Today, I'm still recovering from my face injury and just hoping that this is the end of the awful 1.5 years I've had. My advice for anyone that's going through this is just try to stay as positive as you can. I know it's hard. I've been there. I'm still going through it, trying to stay positive. But it'll all work out in the end, and just do what the doctors say. And if you have any problems, make sure to tell them. If I wouldn't have told them about my eye, I would have been more of a mess than I am about my squint, because that's a big thing that's still bothering me. just make sure you're surrounded by people that you're comfortable with and that you know will help you through all of it. And if you ever get made fun of for it, just try to ignore it and don't let it bother you as much as it did me.
My name's Arnie Bates. It was a hot day and the fish weren't biting. And so I went swimming and dove into the river, and the water wasn't deep enough. And I hit the bottom and floated down the river, and I became a C4-5 quadriplegic. It started my life over. It put me in the hospital for about 5 months before I come home. And I couldn't walk, but I could talk after a couple months. But it changed my life, not only physically, but at 18, I wasn't sure where I was going to start. A lot of people, mostly family and friends, but the nurses were wonderful and still are. And the doctors, the medical technology is just got better ever since. And that was 42 years ago, in 1980. And I learned every day since. Go fishing. I guess just keep myself busy, trying to do things, enjoy the outdoors when I could, do some writing and drawing. I went to college, and the more I learned that I didn't know. So it was just every day is something new. I think mostly my most help was in my family. Like I had these little nieces, they'd come over all the time. They'd keep me going, and children and family, and help, people, humor. I guess that's kind of a, make a long story short.
My name is Bryce Schmitz. I'm the owner of Whisper Skate Shop, and I've been skating for 14 years. Me and a group of friends living in Meadowgrove. It's like a little village of 300 people. We really had nothing to do, so we started a skate group called Whisper, and it was just our lives back then, and we lived for it every single day. Man, the first Whisper location was a super tiny building. I think it was 900 square foot. And it was really small, kind of just like a hallway. There's probably a lot of things we could have done different to be more prepared for it, but just getting the money to get everything going and getting it stocked up, and then learning everything, and really just jumped into it. But we learned as we went and just kept going. The community of Whisper is awesome. We have like super young kids from like 5 years old up to, we have 50, 60-year-olds coming in here, and everyone's super cool. It's just a really relaxed, like, feels like family. Anytime anyone steps in this building, we treat them as family, and I feel that's how we've grown, is we treat every single customer like the most important person in the world, because they are. And that's how we build. We go from one customer to another customer and just grow from there. Skate school, it's a blast. We teach them everything from just balancing to getting down all their tricks, and it's super fun because these kids are just relentless, you know? We really get to see the relentlessness in them, and they'll constantly fall and get right back up, and it's just super cool to see the dedication get built in these kids. You know, a lot of them coming in here that never skated before coming here, and it's cool seeing them grow and, you know, seeing them get everything down. Man, the Adopt a Skater program, it's super sweet. I love seeing how many people donate to it. You know, the whole idea behind it is all the local skaters and everyone brings their old boards in and puts it in the box for, you know, people that can't afford them. And, you know, there's kids, older people, there's a lot of people that come in that, you know, they would love to have a board, but they just can't afford it. You know, hard times hit everyone, and it's so cool to have. It's cool to see the people that donate, and then it's also just so cool to see kids walking out of here with such a big smile on their face because they got a board. The new location is awesome. It's a lot bigger than our last location, so it's like, it was really difficult trying to get it fully stocked up, but we made it work and we're slowly growing. You know, we're still far from where we want to be with this location, but we're getting there every day, and we're just continuing to pump everything we can into this place. And we also started our website, so the website is our main focus, you know, because we'll only ever be as big as Norfolk if we never get on the website and push that way. So we're really trying to push on that and just get it out to everyone and get it on all of our social medias, and hopefully it'll take off someday. Business has been so much better. You know, in the process of moving over here, it was like, man, if we could tenfold, that would be insane. But currently we're like 30 times what we were doing at the last shop. And, you know, of course there's more overhead now, so it balances itself out, but it's doing so much better though, and I'm really happy that we moved here. Man, the future of Whisper, I'm excited for it. There's so much ahead of us and so many things that we plan to do with this community, and even just throughout the whole world. You know, our main focus is to become a worldwide skate brand. So I'm just excited. We have tons of stuff, from the Whisper compound to an indoor park to getting our clothing out there to seeing a skateboard in every single skate shop in the world. You know, we have a lot planned for this place, and all we have to do is keep laying bricks every day, and hopefully we get there. My name is Bryce Schmitz, and this is Whisper.
In 2019, the year before everything changed, in small-town Plainview, Nebraska, a business was made. The Grace and Grit Country Boutique became a shop of all sorts of custom clothing, furniture, and more.
Well, I started with t-shirts, and I liked doing t-shirts, and it was just a fun project I could do, and then people said, hey, can you do this for me? Could you do that for me? And I started doing them for people, and just kind of evolved from there.
Since Grace and Grit opened, the store has expanded to a whole new Connex outside of Miss Harder's home, where customers come to grab all kinds of custom items.
Main reasons I do a home-based business is because I have kids and I'm chasing them for their various activities. And so my family life comes first as much as I possibly can, and then usually it's late hours and early mornings.
And because she is a parent, it can tend to lead to many challenges along the way, and even today.
Well, one of the major challenges right now is that a lot of people started doing t-shirts. So it's like, you know, just in this little area, there's probably 4 or 5 people who make t-shirts. So it's made it a tough margin to work in, profit margin to work in, to be competitive and still make a little money. And then shipping getting my products and getting everything I need and all that, and then everything has gone up. Prices have gone up for every single part of my business. I've seen a price increase.
And while many other people are picking up on these similar items,
I do still enjoy it. It's and I hope that things pick up again and that I can continue to do it for many years.
So it was my Grandpa Dave's car. Grandpa Dave is my dad. He's from my dad's side. And he special ordered it from the factory the way he wanted it. This car was like his big car. It was the first one he ever bought new, to my knowledge. And he got it and he drove the wheels off of it, literally, because the tires stopped holding air. So then he parked it. This is the short story. He parked it, and then he'd air them up every once in a while, pull it out, let it run, wash the thing. But then the fuel pump died, so he couldn't run, so then it just sat and sat and sat. Every once in a while, I'd ask him, could we go out and look at it? And, you know, we'd take a drill with us, unscrew the boards off the tarp, roll the tarp up, and I'd sit and I'd look at it. I'd ask questions, hear stories and all that, and then after he had passed away, a couple, I think 4 or 5 years ago now, me and Grandma pulled it out and hauled it off to the shop in town and got her fixed. Now it's run like a champ, and I bought it. Let's see, it would have been August of 20, I think, of 2020. So I've had it just a little over a year now. And yeah, I love that damn thing. What I had to do to get it there, so we flat towed it about 1.5 miles into town. So Grandma and Grandpa lived in a trailer court. They had a double wide and they had this carport behind. And all the tires were flat. So I hooked it up to the back of my truck and we very slowly pulled it out. I know they put a new fuel tank in it, new fuel pump, new hoses, like radiator hoses. They flushed the coolant system, which they didn't do very good because I had to do that again myself. Dad came with me that day and we were having lunch out at the Skyview Park, and Mom called me and said, hey, if you're gonna buy the Camaro, today's the day. I'm like, okay. So we called the bank, got the necessary funds arranged, and then Mom went and bought it. It never felt like my Camaro. It always felt like I was just driving Grandpa's Camaro, but I still get that sometimes. Not as much as I used to, but it's a weird feeling where I'll just be driving and I'll remember, I'm like, oh, this was Grandpa's car. Like, I grew up wanting this thing so bad, and now I have it. Like, and the fact that it's back out on the road is still just whoa, So it's really cool. It's a lot. It's my happy space. Like, if I just need to get away when I'm able, I just hop in and drive.
I had a 1986 Ford Thunderbird. It had the 3.8 liter V6 engine in it. It was a base model. It was gray, and it had previously belonged to my uncle, who drove it to high school. And then he ended up buying a Ford Bronco, and then the Thunderbird got parked in my dad's machine shed, which, keep in mind, was really dirty and filthy and not clean by any standards. And so one day, my grandpa decided to pull it out and get it running for me. And he pitched the idea to me, and I was like, that sounds like a really cool idea. So over the summer of, I think it was 2017, we got it out and we worked on it, and I learned a lot in the process, got to spend some time with my grandpa as well, and I drove that to high school for the next 3 years, my sophomore year up to my senior year, until it stopped running. So before I owned the car, it had belonged to my Uncle Ross. Well, technically it had belonged to my grandparents, but my uncle drove the car to high school when he was my age. And then the Thunderbird got parked in our shed, and it just hadn't moved since then. So this was my first car. Yes, it was looked at. It was admired by many people. Before I had actually got it running, I was talking about it to all my friends and stuff. And then the day finally came for me to take it to school for the first time, and I had never felt so excited. I mean, like, this was my own thing. This was my car. And I drove it into the parking lot, and a couple of my friends wanted to look at it, and you know, it was just a really uplifting, happy moment for me to see everybody wanted to see the machine that I had worked on over the summer, and it had all finally paid off. So right now it is parked in my grandma's barn. It's been parked there for a little over a year now. It's very dirty and the battery's dead. It still runs, it just runs very, very rough. It's just not really in a drivable state. I think about this, I kind of go back and forth on this because I'd really like to put the money and time into fixing that car because I love it and I'd love to see it drive again. My buddy and I were thinking about maybe getting together and fixing it this summer, but I don't really know enough about cars, and I don't totally know what he knows about cars either. So I'd love to fix it. Right now it's just sitting there. If we fix it, great. If not, we'll probably just sell it to somebody else who wants to fix it or needs it for parts or something.
My name is Andy Sanchez, and I am a property manager and owner of some rentals, and we do just about everything there is to do. By trade, I do flooring, so before I did this, I had my own business laying carpet and vinyl and things like that, so I do a lot of that, and obviously cleaning and just general maintenance, light plumbing, some roofing, some siding, and just outside work, lawn mowing and snow removal. On average, I would say about 5 hours a week. It's always been an interest of mine to own some rental properties. This is a college town, and it seems to be pretty lucrative and a need in the community, and so it's always been kind of an interest for quite a few years, and I had the opportunity to start a business and took it.
My name is Timothy Miller, and I'm one of the instructors in the Media Arts program. This is a kind of a black box room that the Media Arts students use for a variety of different projects and a place to do interviews. So we use it for a lot of different things. Behind me is our podcast station, and the faculty in the Media Arts program were discussing ways that we could improve engagement and retention of knowledge of students and incorporate all the different skills that media arts students have to have. So a media arts student needs to be able to think like a technician, a little bit like a scientist, a little bit like an artist, and then also like a producer to get a product from start to finish. So one of the most rapidly growing fields in media is podcasting. It's not as big as television, it's not as big as radio, but it's growing faster than any of those other areas. So we came up with the idea, what if we had a podcast system and station, and in particular maybe make it portable. And so about a year ago, we acquired the technology to do that, and then we had some of our project students put everything together. We worked for an afternoon to get everything put together, and then we had everybody sit down, and the first group of students sat down at this podcast station, it's like, wow, we really have something, because students that hadn't talked much for an entire 3 semesters were suddenly chatting and comfortable in this environment. So it's kind of interesting that we end up with something that both reinforces all of the things that we want to have with our students in terms of their knowledge and their skills, but we also end up with a product that can help represent either the college or instructional media as they talk about different core areas that students can then use later. There weren't really a lot of challenges. Once we came up with the idea, we just had to acquire the gear. Probably one of our biggest challenges we faced was what was going to be the center or the core, and whether this was going to be audio only or visual and audio. And we decided that it would work best if we kept it open to both. So some of it was just part of the decision tree that we had. The rest of it was just getting it put together, and with the help of our students, we kind of quickly adapted some hardware and other pieces and put it together so this whole thing can be broken down in about 20 minutes and then transported to any location we want and set back up. And with the integration of a couple of cameras, we can do either visual or sonic only podcast. It can go out live over the internet. It can be saved for later. It can be broadcast live if we chose. So it can be a webcast, podcast, audio only, visual and audio. Pretty adaptable. Particular skills are learning to talk to and talk with people. When you sit down in this environment, once they get past getting the technology working, it's all about communication. And communication is one of those skills that's sometimes thought of as a soft skill, dealing with other people and having a good conversation. So that's probably one of the bigger ones that is what I'd call either a happy byproduct or a goal, depending. You know, the media arts students have, again, a lot of different skills that they have to incorporate in almost every one of their projects. So this lends itself to learning what some people call the soft skills of dealing with other people and interacting with them in real time. This room has been, because it's a room that's pretty much entirely painted black, that you don't have to deal with a lot of reflections. It adds a certain sense of, I'll call it communication intimacy. It lets people kind of get relaxed, and it's just a different looking room. So I think it's good for that. Well, I think one of the ways that this room, and in particular the portable podcasting system, could be a great asset, first off, is for students and their education and learning. It improves engagement, it improves the retention of their knowledge, and it gets them involved in a way that they haven't been able to perhaps get involved before. But bigger picture, it allows the college to start developing a way to have greater outreach within the community. So if our broadcasting students perhaps wanted to go out and do live interviews or live podcasts with area businesses and make that available to them, it enhances their learning, and it enhances the community that we live in. As a community college, that's one of the areas we're looking to improve all the time, is that engagement of our community and of the businesses within that community. I just hope it gets used a lot, and I think it will, because again, you watch a group of people that maybe don't even know each other that well sit down, and suddenly they're talking back and forth. In our very first podcast, it wasn't even a podcast intended. It was just, we got done getting everything wired, and a group of audio students who happened to be sophomores and were getting ready to graduate sat down with me, and I said, hey, what would you tell freshmen coming into the program how to best succeed? And boom, it exploded. And then right in the middle of that, President Barrett happened to be doing a tour of facilities and stepped in, and she sat down, and these guys didn't drop a beat. They just kept right on going, included her. It was just such a very comfortable environment. So I would hope that a lot of students, and even students that aren't necessarily media art students, but in other areas, could benefit from this.
Life on a college campus may be boring sometimes, but in the Student Activities Office, they are trying to bring a little happiness to the campus. Some of the activities offered can differ from bowling to bingo to even axe throwing. The activities can even change with the holidays.
My name is Erica Ruprecht, and I am the Student Activities Coordinator at Northeast Community College. So there's a lot that goes into planning the activities that happen here on campus and the events. We usually start in like May or June of the year before. Actually, right now we have a pretty good foundation of what we're planning to do next year. When it comes to other activities, like maybe extreme bowling, we have to make sure that we contact the bowling alley, book them, and make sure that they're okay with us coming on the days that we plan to. Otherwise, there's a lot of promo and a lot of swag items that we like to give away, like free t-shirts, free sweatshirts. That all needs to be ordered before the school year, obviously, so we start planning that in May, June. We start designing them, deciding what colors we're going to have the swag items be, what logo or what kind of design is going to be on it. We then have to go back and forth with the company that we're ordering from, deciding how many we're going to give away. So there's a lot of background things that go into these events. It's not just as easy as making a phone call and saying we want 300 t-shirts or something like that. Yeah, so that's actually the fun about student activities is we don't really have a typical day. Sometimes we're here super early because there's an event that's super early, and other times we have really late night events, so we need to come in later so that we can be here for that event. So example, when we have blood drives or when we have like the welcome back breakfast, those events start really early in the morning, so we need to be here 6:30, 7 a.m. And then there's events like last night where we had the Great Northeaster Egg Hunt, and that started at 9 p.m. So we had to stay here till late last night. And the typical work week, it's always changing. It matters what events are that week. So like this week, we have been sending out clues for the Northeaster Egg Hunt and other clues for the virtual Northeaster Egg Hunt. And then we were stuffing, we were just going through and we had like 925 eggs that we were stuffing. So that is, there's never a typical work day, which is kind of fun, and it's always exciting every week what you're going to be doing. And every week we always do have 2 meetings with our Student Activities Council. One is for the exec meeting, and one is with the whole 18 student group, which is awesome. So that's always the same, but the rest of the week is usually pretty all over the place. Yeah. So we really try to make sure to hit every single student. So that means if you want to know that the events are here by seeing it from a poster. So we have a graphic design student who comes and she helps design the posters that go out. Those posters usually go out on the Thursday or Friday of the week before the event is happening. So like right now they're actually already out for next week. And so those, we have posters, those go around campus on the bulletin boards, and then we also have the table tents, so those also get put out. On top of that, we always make sure to put our events in the what's happening. If it's an event that involves faculty and staff, we will put it in the employee newsletter. And then on top of that, I'm sure you know about our social media. We always make sure to get it out the Sunday before or the Monday before, it matters. And then we also try to get it out on like the day of or the night before. We put it out on Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. Sometimes our events even end up on TikTok, but then our really big promoter, our big promo is our campus text. So we have about 1,500 people that are signed up for that, and we send out a text usually the day of the event that just says, hey, reminder, this event's going on, and this is what we're giving away, or this is what's happening. So we really try to get the promo out there so students know when and where the events are.
These activities may not seem like much to you, but they can do wonders for a person who is struggling with making friends and may even be feeling homesick. For folks looking to get into student activities, I always recommend looking into the Student Activities Council.
Good evening. What is your name?
I'm Lauren Rhodes.
What is your major?
My major is administrative professional.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
It's more like an office profession. It's kind of business and clerk work.
Well, nice to meet you, Lauren. That sounds really fascinating.
Thank you.
What is your hometown, and tell me a little bit about it?
My hometown is Gretna, Nebraska. It's between Omaha and Lincoln. We're a pretty big town. We're Class A. We're getting a new high school in 2023. Yeah.
Why did you come to Northeast? Out of all the colleges in Nebraska, why did you come to
And it's funny you say that because I went to Southeast last year. They only had in-person, and Northeast had online. So I transferred to Northeast after my year at Southeast.
Okay, so were you still going for administrative professional at Southeast? Or
It was just my gen eds for any major, like biology or math, any class that would count to anything.
Are you part of any clubs here at Northeast or any extracurricular activities? If so,
I am. I'm a part of the Christian Fellowship group on Monday nights.
What do you do there?
We praise God and worship and have snacks and have fun time.
I might just start going there now.
I'll have to make you invite.
Yeah, I might have to. What are your plans after graduation? Because I know that's coming up sooner than later.
Actually, I'm planning on graduating next spring with my diploma in the spring and my degree in the fall. I plan to work in a school or an office setting, like a hospital.
Oh, nice. Well, I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. Thanks, Alice.
19-year-old Lauren Rhodes grins widely, proudly holding up her COVID-19 vaccine card right after getting the Johnson & Johnson shot.
I was like, one and done.
The Gretna teenager went home that April night feeling all the mild post-vaccine side effects.
Kind of fatigue and exhaustion, and then it just kind of got worse and worse.
She says she felt sick for weeks, and the whole time her family thought it was from the vaccine.
We just figured this is a reaction.
But then other symptoms arose. Her legs buckled, her face drooped, side effects that didn't match up with other people's vaccine reactions.
This arm, asking to put your hand, I couldn't even squeeze it. Pick up my phone, couldn't do it.
She visited Dr. Carmela Imig at the CHI Health Gretna Clinic. She told the family to go to the hospital, where an MRI highlighted a tumor pressing on Lauren's spinal cord.
And they said, this can't wait, you have to get this out now.
On May 7th, Lauren was admitted to Children's Hospital for surgery.
This was in the part of the cervical spine where if something would have been done, she could have lost all function of her arms and legs.
Here's Lauren starting therapy at Madonna. Here's Lauren shopping with her mom. They went to the chocolate store in Ashland, Nebraska. Here's Lauren at her graduation recovery party. Here's Lauren at her moving day for Northeast. Here's Lauren at a golf tournament in Norfolk, who's an old professor at Southwest was there. Here's Lauren who just felt happy today. Here's Lauren who helped her mom with her job. Here's Lauren being happy and living her best life. Here's Lauren who had to see an ankle doctor. Here's Lauren on her way back from the hockey game for a trio. Here's Lauren laying in her bed because Saturday mornings are her favorites. They are so quiet and peaceful, and sleep is much needed. Here's Lauren at the trio end of the semester dinner. Thank you for being my friend. Even though we differ on some things, we will always be friends.
I'm Zane Thompson. I'm from Anselmo, Nebraska. I grew up with no siblings, and now I'm here studying digital cinema at Northeast Community College. My favorite memory from Northeast Community College is probably when I made a student film with my good friend Clint Oldenholt. We signed up for Skills USA, and we made an amazing short film with a lot of time and effort into it. Had a couple of meltdowns, and we scored third place. Well, I don't know about a least favorite, but it's really hard being so far away from home when I lived in the same town my whole life. It's hard to be away from my family, and especially because I don't really know that many people here in town, so I don't do a lot. Hopefully I'll be better about that sophomore year. But yeah, that's definitely a struggle, is that I don't really know anybody in Norfolk. Okay, normally in a week I go to class. I probably sleep more than the average bear. I don't really do much except for class and hang around my room. So This year at Northeast Community College in the Media Arts program, I've definitely learned a lot about everything. It's a really broad focus. I really enjoy it. And I came into college not really knowing what I want to do, having zero clue in the world. In fact, I picked the college I wanted to go to out of a hat. But now I'm really confident in pursuing certain careers and certain jobs, and I have a pretty set target what I want to do once I'm done here. Well, I really enjoy the photo video editing stuff we do, so I switched my major to digital cinema. Like the dream job would be design album covers, make music videos, but to work myself up to there, I'm gonna pursue a job at a local radio station or TV station next year while I'm still in classes. See where that takes me.
Can you introduce yourself?
What's up? My name's Jamal. Hello, bro, to you, the cameraman, and or Big Molly.
Hi, I'm Bethany.
My name's Yasmin.
My name is Naima.
You can just say your first name.
My title?
What'd you call yourself?
Sarah.
What's your favorite thing about barbecuing?
The food.
What about the food?
How good it is.
I like to eat.
Yeah?
I guess.
Yeah? Okay.
I like the drinks. And I like toppings.
Gatherings, family. I don't mind grilling, so.
I think that my favorite thing would be that everybody comes together, regardless of what it is, but everybody ends up showing up because it's a barbecue.
The food. The food is really good. But it's not the reason why we barbecue. We barbecue to have fun with the people we can sit down and enjoy our meal with.
My favorite drinks would be any kind of soda.
Drink Fanta, anything orange soda.
My favorite food would be any kind of chips.
I like the burgers, and then I like a little bit of alcohol. It used to be hot dogs. I love macaroni salad.
Burgers?
Or brats if I have.
What about drinks?
Usually, soda's almost always good.
If you could invite anybody to the barbecue, alive or dead, who would that be?
Definitely Daniel, my brother. The first person that comes to my head is Tupac. I don't know why. Or like Michael Jackson. Actually, not Michael Jackson. Probably Tupac.
Why Tupac?
Because he's gorgeous.
My homies, there's one.
I would invite sure, Snoop Dogg or Beyonce or like Zendaya or a lot of Japanese artists I like.
Okay.
I also would want my nieces and nephews. My niece and nephew, I only have one of each. And Din and Jasmine.
What did this barbecue bring for you today?
Got to see my siblings and my mom, and it was lovely.
They give me food to eat, roof over my head, new people to meet, memories. I'm not gonna not remember this.
See all smiles and new people. And I'm not antisocial.
I got to just pretty and I got to eat a lot of food.
But I said, hell yeah, I got the laundry, my nails off, made and set up the barbecue stuff. Hashtag beast mode. Right?
What was the process, physically and mentally, cooking all this food?
First of all, I did some push-ups.
Oh my god!
Because I had to prepare my hand muscles, you know.
Alright, you mind introducing yourself to us?
No.
What People call her red lipstick. Red. So much. So what's your favorite thing about barbecuing?